phone is a fossil on the bedside table, a heavy stone in a house of glass. I've memorized the cracks in the ceiling plaster, waiting for a ghost that'll never pass. I left my pride in a dozen blue bubbles, sent into a void that doesn't breathe. Every "are you okay?" and "I'm sorry for everything" is a jagged little blade I forgot to sheathe. The silence isn't empty, it's a physical weight pressing on my chest like an iron gate. I'm checking the signal, I'm checking the time, as if my devotion was some kind of crime. You didn't call back and the air turned a lady. You left the most vital things hanging by a thread. No, it's over, no goodbye, just a doubt-toned sky and 1,000 questions that'll never get a why. It's the loudest rejection I've ever had to hear, the sound of you choosing to just disappear. I'm holding a line that's been cut at the source, while you're miles away, charting a different course. I see you're active in a different world, while mine is a flag that's been tightly furled. You have time for the strangers, time for the few, but you ran out of seconds for the me and you. I'm staring at a screen until my eyes go blurred, starving for the ghost of a single word. Is it a game of power or just a lack of care to leave me gasping in this oxygenless air? A no would be a mercy, a go would be a gift, but this static is a canyon, a permanent rift. You're killing me softly with the things you don't do, by making me a secret that's no longer true. I'm waiting for a rain that's never gonna come, feeling my heart go steadily numb. You didn't call back and the air turned to lead. You left the most vital things hanging by a thread. No, it's over, no goodbye, just a doubt-toned sky and 1,000 questions that'll never get a why. It's the loudest rejection I've ever had to hear, the sound of you choosing to just disappear. I'm holding a line that's been cut at the source, while you're miles away, charting a different course. The screen goes dark, I'm deleting the thread, I'm burying the spark. You didn't call back, and I finally heard you loud and clear. The battery's bleeding down to 5%, just like the energy on the prayers I've sent. I'm tilting the screen to catch the street lamps glare, searching for a flicker that isn't even there. Every vibration in the pocket of my jeans is a cruel little trick of the digital machines. I refresh the feed until my thumb is sore, begging for a sign from a closed up door. I know you're awake, I see the scene recede, a blue tinted coldness, a bitter retreat. I'm a ghost in your pocket, a name you ignore, while I'm drowning in silence on the bathroom floor. And oh, I kept checking my phone like a lifeline, waiting for a hail to wish you were mine. But the glass is a mirror of my own hollow eyes, reflecting the weight of your unspoken lies. It's a graveyard of messages I shouldn't have sent, a map of a fever that finally spent. The hardest addiction to break in the dark is checking for a signal from a dying spark. The timing of your online status, a voyeur of the distance, a widening hiatus. You're talking to the world, you're laughing at the night, while I'm staring at a rectangle of artificial light. I wrote out a paragraph and deleted it all, because there's no use in screaming at a digital wall. You're a ghost in the machine, a memory in code, and I'm just a traveler on a one-way road. Is it someone new? Is it just a piece? Does ignoring my name bring you some kind of release? Every time I unlock it, I'm losing my mind, looking for a treasure I'll never find. I'm a slave to the glow, a moth to the flame, waiting for the screen to light up with your name. The glass is a mirror of my own hollow eyes, reflecting the weight of your unspoken lies. It's a graveyard of messages I shouldn't have sent, a map of a fever that finally spent. The hardest addiction to break in the dark is checking for a signal from a dying spark. For the first time tonight, the room feels quiet. I'm putting it face down, I'm not looking back. I watch the gold in your eyes turn to lead. I memorized every dark word that you said. When the world turned its back and the winter set in, I was the coat that you wore on your skin. I sat in the silence of your heaviest days, tracing the maps of your soul through the haze. I didn't need sunshine to stay by your side. I was the anchor in every low tide. wouldn't leave. I gave you my breath when you forgot how to breathe. I took all the arrows you aimed at the wall and stood like a shadow to soften your fall. I traded my peace for the war in your head, left my own dreams just to tend to your bed. I thought we were forging a bond in the fire, but I was the wood and you were the part. My hands are still callous from holding the rope while you were busy strangling our hope. I stayed for the version of you that I knew, but that person died, and I'm mourning them too. I stayed through the bad days, the black and the gray. I was the one who refused to walk away. I carried the weight of two hearts on my back while you watched our history fade into black. Now the sun's finally breaking, the storm's moving on, and you're looking for someone to dance in the dawn. But you're leaving the person who stood in the rain like I'm just a bandage you've stripped from the pain. You used me for shelter, you used me for light, to get through the tunnels of your longest night. But now that you're healed and you're ready to fly, I'm just the wreckage you're passing on by. I'm the doctor you leave when the fever is gone, the sad heavy chapter you're through dwelling on. The sky is so blue, it's beginning to sting. I'm still shivering from your winter rain. Go find your perfect, go find your new start. I'll just be here with my heavy weather heart. The walls are painted in the colors of your storms. I learned to love the lightning in all its jagged forms. I sat on the edge of the bed while the ceiling spun, waiting for the person I love to come undone. 1 minute you're a summer lake, crystal and clear, and next you're a riptide pulling me into my fear. I kept my shoes by the door, but my heart on the shelf, trying to save you from the war you fought with yourself. I was the anchor when your tides got high, the only one who didn't say goodbye. I memorized the shadows beneath your eyes and found the beauty in your broken lullaby. I stayed through the silence, I stayed through the screams. I held the flashlight in your darkest dreams. When you were a desert, I tried to be the rain. I wore your sorrow like a silver tired. You'd wake up a stranger with a frost in your tone, leaving me shivering in a house we called home. I walked on eggshells until my feet began to bleed, giving you everything you didn't know you need. But you used your sadness like a heavy iron shield, refusing to see the harvest in the field. I was the witness to every ghost you chased, while my own reflection was slowly erased. And the hardest part of loving a storm is trying to keep a dying ember warm. I thought if I stayed, the clouds would finally part, but you just let the winter settle in your heart. I stayed until I didn't recognize my face, lost in the wreckage of your hollow space. I stayed through your mood, I stayed through the fire, until my own soul became a funeral pyre. The storm is still raging, but I'm finally stepping outside. I'm soaked to the bone, but I'm done trying to hide. I became a student of your coldest nights, studying the flicker of your fading lights. I mapped the tremors in your quiet voice, trying to find a logic, trying to find a choice. I waded through the thicket of your tangled past, searching for a version of us that could last. I read between the lines of your I'm doing fine, while I watched your spirit slowly drift from mine. I translated your silence into poetry and prose, thinking I could love you through the thorns of the rose. I looked for the why in the way that you stare at a point on the wall like I wasn't even there. I excused the distance as I needed space, while I memorized the sadness etched into your face. I thought if I could just solve the riddle of your heart, I could keep the world from pulling us apart. But the more that I learned, the less that I knew. I was drowning in oceans of a darker shade of blue. I was building a bridge to a shore made of mist, begging for a ghost that didn't wanna be kissed. I try to understand you, I try to be the key to the cage you were building to hide away from me. I wore your confusion like a heavy winter coat, while I sank in the harbor of your leaking boat. I looked for the person beneath lights going out, the books on the floor. I don't wanna wonder what if anymore. I understand now, it's finally clear. You're only yourself when I'm not here. I'm picking up the pieces of a dignity I dropped somewhere between the pleas and the way your heartbeat stopped. I was an anchor in a harbor that didn't want the ship, tracing the cold, hard edges of your tightening grip. I ignored the red flags like they were roses in the rain, and drank the poison just to feel a familiar kind of pain. I watched you turn the lights out while I was still in the room, trying to find a harvest in a garden that wouldn't bloom. The mirror is a stranger I don't recognize anymore, a ghost of the person who walked through your front door. I traded my pride for a seat at a table of one, waiting for a sunrise when you were already the sun setting. And oh, I stayed past my worth, like a fool that thinks the sun still circles the earth. I kept the fire burning until my hands were charred and bone, while you were already building a life that was all your own. It wasn't your leaving that broke me in the end, it was the way I let my own spirit break just to bend. I stayed for the memory, I stayed for the once was, but I stayed long enough to forget what a heartbeat does. Your silence was a hammer, in the same soft spot, reminding me of everything that I am simply not. I made excuses for the way you look right through my face, as if I was a shadow taking up too much space. I waited for a thank you or a darling come to bed, but I lived on the crumbs of the things you never said. I let you make me small so you could feel like a king, until I was a bird who forgot how to use a wing. They say love is patient, they say love is kind, but they don't tell you love can make you deaf and blind to the sound of your own soul screaming, get out while you can, to the sight of your own life slipping through your hands. I wasn't a partner, I was a habit you outgrew, and the hardest part of leaving was leaving the version of me that loved you. The door is finally heavy, the key is on a mat. I'm walking out with nothing but the clothes on my back, finally knowing that I'm worth more than the stay I never got. The engine's humming in the driveway, but neither one of us is turning the key. We're sitting in a box of velvet shadows, afraid of the ghosts we've come to be. repeat. I reached for your hand in the console space, but you were chasing a crack on the glass. We used to fight for the smallest inch of soil. Now we just watch the seasons pass. There's no fire to put out, no storm to break, just a quiet surrender, a slow rolling wave. We stopped asking why, and we stopped saying how. We're just two survivors in the here and now. And oh, it hurts more than the screaming did, to realize we finally closed the lid. We didn't run out of love, we ran out of fight. We just let the darkness swallow the light. No more fix it, no more please stay. We just looked at the wreckage and walked away. The saddest part of the weather is the moment we stop trying together. Table is 1,000 miles wide. I'm passing the salt to a stranger's side. I see a flicker of the girl I used to know, but the pilot light died a long time ago. We used to stay up till the birds started singing, tearing down walls just to hear the bells ringing. Now the silence is a comfortable shroud, because the truth is simply getting too loud. I'm tired of being the only one holding the rope, tired of feeding a starving hope. You let go of your end so softly, so slow, that I didn't even notice I was dancing so low. It takes two to build, but only one to let it rust. And now our forever is blowing in the dust. The headlights flicker out on the street. No more trying, just the sound of our own separate feet. Porcelain plate is still cracked on the floor, a jagged reminder of the slamming door. The air is still vibrating with the things that we screamed, tearing the edges of the life that we dreamed. The insults were arrows, they found every mark, leaving us bleeding alone in the dark. But the thunder has passed and the storm's lost its breath, and now we're just sitting in a parlor of death. I'm waiting for the sorry to soften the blow, but the ice in your eyes has started to grow. We've traded our fire for a permanent frost, counting the bodies of the lovers we lost. We argue, fell silent, the loudest of ends, a canyon between us that nobody meant. I can see your silhouette against the hallway light. A stranger I've known for 1,000 nights. We've exhausted the anger, we've drained every vein, till there's nothing left but a dull, heavy pain. I wanna reach out to touch your cold shoulder, but every minute the room's getting older. We're statues of salt in a house made of sand, afraid of the touch of a familiar hand. Sometimes the scream is a plea to be heard, but this silence is final. It's the very last word. It's the sound of the heart that stopped trying to beat, the sound of a soul in a total retreat. We fought for the truth until the truth was too much, and now we're just ghosts who are afraid of the touch. The clock on the mantle is the only one talking. I can hear the ghost of my own self walking away. We argued, then we fell silent, and the silence is fine. The tea has gone cold on the counter, next to the keys you didn't take. The clock on the wall is a hammer, counting the hours till I break. We used to fill up the hallways with the kind of noise that felt like home, but now the air is heavy and hollow, just a house made of echoes and bone. I watched your shadow shorten at the door, waiting for a word to keep you here. But my throat was a desert, dry and sore, and stay was the only thing I couldn't clear. And oh, we broke in silence. No screaming glass, no slam shut doors, just the quiet drift of two different islands on a dark and rising shore. It wasn't a fire, it was a slow gray fade, 1,000 I love yous left unpaid. The loudest sound I've ever known was the quiet way you left me alone. I'm chasing the ghosts in the bed sheets, where your gravity used to pull me in. Now the moonlight is clinical and cold, revealing the cracks beneath my skin. I thought we'd go down in a canyon of thunder, with the tragedy written in red. But we just ran out of things to wonder, and left all the vital things unsaid. Sometimes the end is a whisper, sometimes the heart doesn't cry. It just folds like a letter forgotten under a pale and indifferent sky. You didn't hate me, and I didn't blame you. We just became two ghosts who shared a name. And oh, we broke in silence. No screaming glass, no slam shut doors, just a quiet drift of two different islands on a dark and rising shore. It wasn't a fire, it was a slow gray fade. 1,000 I love yous left unpaid. The loudest sound I've ever known was the quiet way you left me alone. The street lamp flickers outside, the world keeps turning, I don't know why. Just a cinematic into a quiet life. We broke in silence. We broke in silence. We brought the hammer and we brought the gold to fill in the cracks of a story too old. I glued the edges while you held the light. Two tired soldiers in a peaceful fight. We read all the books and we changed all the words, but the silence between us was all that we heard. We scrubbed out the stains till the floorboards were bare, but the ghost of the hurt was still sitting right there. I try to be softer, you try to be loud. We look for the silver in every dark cloud, but some things are shattered too fine for the hand to gather the pieces and make them all stand. We were architects building on shifting gray sand, with a blueprint for love that we didn't command. The harder we pulled, the more the rope frayed, until we were ghosts of the promise we made. It wasn't for lack of the sweat or the tears. We gave it our blood and we gave it our years. But you can't heal a heart that's decided to stop, no matter how much of your life you might drop. We couldn't fix us, though we broke ourselves trying. The truth was a whisper under all of the crying. We had all the tools, but the spirit was gone, like trying to force back the light of the dawn. We patched up the windows to keep out the cold, but the foundation crumbled, too heavy to hold. Sometimes the trying is the cruelest part, when you're stitching a shadow to a hollowed out heart. There's nothing left of me. There's nothing left of you. We're just two people in a beautiful mess that we couldn't save with a no or a yes. The streetlight is bleeding through the vertical blinds, mapping the distance between our two minds. You're a mountain of stone on the left-hand side, and I'm a valley of secrets with nowhere to hide. The duvet is a border, a cold cotton wall. I'm listening for a breath, but I'm hearing it all. The way you're choosing the silence over my name, while the embers of our dinner are dying in the frame. I wanted to reach out and soften the edge, but my pride is a sentry on a dangerous ledge. The apology is heavy, a stone in my throat, while we're both just drifting in a sinking boat. And oh, we slept angry again, letting the shadows become our best friends. No good night, I love you, just the weight of the dark and the smell of a fire that's lost every spark. We're dreaming in separate, bitter degrees, while the ghost of our kindness is down on its knees. The sun's gonna rise on a war that we won, but we're losing the battle of being the one. I'm staring at the ceiling, counting the cracks, wondering when we stopped having each other's backs. It started with a comment, a sharp little why, and ended with us staring at a pitch black sky. I can hear your heartbeat, it's steady and slow, but you feel like a person I used to know. Are you rehearsing the exit? Are you counting the days, or are you just lost in this thick toxic haze? They say don't let the sun go down on your wrath, but we're miles deep down a different path. We're storing up lightning, we're hoarding the rain, building a temple out of historical pain. I'd rather you scream than this quiet, I'm done, because silence is the sound of the end begun. Oh, getting lighter by painful degrees. I'm still on my side, you're still on yours. We're awake now, but we're still behind closed doors. Sound of a heavy sigh and the rustle of sheaves. The coffee's cold, the steam has died away. Like every word we struggle just to say. We're sitting inches from each other's skin, but I can't find the door to let me in. Your eyes are fixed on headlights in the street, while mine are tracing cracks beneath our feet. The air is heavy, thick with all the whys, and every truth is dressed in soft-spoken lies. I reached for your hand, but you shifted your weight. A ghost in the room, just a victim of fate. The silence is screaming, it's louder than us, turning our gold back to ashes and dust. We talked until our throats were dry and tight, but we were only ghosts passing in the night. Every sentence was a bridge that fell apart, a hollow rhythm from a fractured heart. I heard your voice, I saw your lips move slow, but I was mourning someone I used to know. We shared the air, we filled the room with sound, but we were just two secrets waiting to be found. Yeah, we talked, but we never felt so lonely. You told me about your day, the mundane things, the surface talk that winter always brings. But you didn't mention how you cry at dawn, or how you've already decided to be gone. I'm screaming stay behind a locked up jaw, while you're describing every flaw you saw. The more we speak, the wider grows the sea between the man you were and who you'll be without me. Is the tragedy you find the poison of okay, watching a lifetime just flicker away. I'd rather you hate me, I'd rather you fight, than this polite goodbye in the dimming light. We're checking the clock, we're checking the door, 'cause I love you doesn't mean always anymore. We talked until our throats were dry and tight, but we were only ghosts passing in the night. Every sentence was a bridge that fell apart, a hollow rhythm from a fractured heart. I heard your voice, I saw your lips move slow, but I was mourning someone I used to know. We shared the air, we filled the room with sound, but we were just two secrets waiting to be found. The echoes are empty, the us is a memory. You said goodnight, but it sounded like goodbye. The words were all there, but the light had left your eyes. We talked, but we felt so empty. too, but the shadow is mine alone. The wine is breathing in a room that's turned to stone. I smooth the wrinkles out of a shirt you'll never see, and dim the lights to hide the ghost of who we used to be. My phone screen flickers, a cold blue heartbeat in the dark. One sentence from your thumb that tears my world apart. You didn't say you're sorry, you just said you couldn't make it. Like my heart was a promise, you knew you'd have to break it. The candles are weeping, wax tears on the floor, and I'm just a fool staring holes in the door. You canceled last minute, but you left months ago. I was just the last person you wanted to know. You checked out of us while I was checking the time, treating our forever like a mountain you didn't want to climb. Now the reservations are dead and the kitchen is cold. I'm holding a story that's already been told. You canceled the night, but you ended the us and left me here turning my love into dust. I remember when you drive through the rain just to touch my hand. Now you won't cross the hallway of a life we carefully planned. Something came up, yeah, I guess it's the truth. The realization that you're reclaiming your youth, and I'm just an anchor, a weight on your heel, a cinematic ending that doesn't feel real. I poured your glass back into the bottle, threw the flowers in the bin like they were some kind of gospel. I'm not crying cause you didn't show up for the meal. I'm crying because I'm the only one left who can feel. The silence is louder than any goodbye you could speak, and every next time just makes me more weak. Beautifully wasted. I'm looking at the photo on the bedside stand, the way you used to lean into my hand. But now you walk through the hallway like a draft of wind, cold and shifting, where do I begin? You've traded your laughter for a sharpened edge, standing alone on a high stone ledge. I'm still the same harbor, I'm still the same shore, but you're a ship that doesn't wanna dock anymore. It wasn't a season, it wasn't a phase, it was a slow motion blurring of the days. I watched the girl I love slowly dissolve into a riddle I'm not meant to solve. shadow on the wall. I was holding the map, but you moved the ground. Now I'm lost in a city where no love is found. You rewritten the script, you recast the part, left me holding the ruins of a communal heart. I stayed in the garden, I stayed in the sea, but you changed right in front of me. You used to love the rain, now you curse the sky. You stopped asking how and started asking why. Your touch used to be a soft velvet glow. Now it's a heavy gray blanket of snow. I'm a ghost in your kitchen, a fly on the glass, watching the stranger you become slowly pass. Every I love you feels like a rehearsed line from a play that was written for a different time. Is it the world, is it the weight of the years, or just the salt from 1,000 hidden tears? I reach for the version of you that I knew, but my fingers just slipped through a different you. You evolved into someone who doesn't need us, leaving my devotion to turn into rust. Right in front of me. The seasons have shifted, the colors are gone. I'm still standing here, but the you I loved is long withdrawn. You're a different person, and I'm just a memory you've outgrown. A single haunting violin, no trails off in a silence. I'm standing by the window where the light turns blue, tracing the ghost of a day marked 2. In the kitchen, the wine is breathing for a guest who decided that leaving was for the best. The tickets are cooling in the drawer by the bed, next to the dreams that I shouldn't have fed. I wore the dress you said you'd like to see, but now I'm just stressing for a ghost in me. The calendar's heavy with things we'll never do, a map of a world that was centered on you. And I'm holding the compass, but the needle won't spin. How do I start where we didn't begin? You forgot the Paris flight, the Sunday drive, the way we promised we'd keep the spark alive. You forgot the cottage with the overgrown lawn and the names of the kids we'd wake up at dawn. It wasn't a fight, it wasn't a grand goodbye. You just let the future curl up and die. The hardest part of the life we're through is that I'm still living the plans that you forgot were true. Past the cafe where we said someday. The chairs were all stacked in a lonely array. I remember the salt on your skin by the lake, the forever you gave that was easy to break. Now I'm folding the maps and I'm clearing the shelf, trying to find a version of myself that doesn't wake up and check the front door for a man who doesn't live here anymore. Was it a slow leak or a sudden storm? Did the coffee get cold? Did the bed get too warm? How do you erase a whole decade of when and turn into someone I'll never see again? You didn't just leave, you took the blueprint away and left me standing in the ruins of today. You forgot the Paris flight, the Sunday drive, the way we promised we'd keep the spark alive. You forgot the cottage with the overgrown lawn and the names of the kids we wake up at dawn. It wasn't a fight, it wasn't a grand goodbye. You just let the future curl up and die. The hardest part of the life we're through is that I'm still living the plans that you forgot were true. Things we'll never see under the sun. No more we, just to quiet me. You forgot, yeah, you forgot. Ooh, you forgot. The blue light is burning a hole through my palm, in a room that's too quiet, in a night that's too calm. I'm watching the bubbles appear then dissolve, like a riddle of us that you don't wanna solve. I poured out my heart in a fountain of ink, but you let it just sit there and slowly just sink. 3 dots on the screen are a ghost in the dark, a tease of a flame that never catches a spark. I'm shouting in pixels, I'm screaming in code, while you're putting up signs for a dead-end road. Is it easier to watch me just wither away than to find a few words for the things you can't say? You ignored my message, but you heard everyone. You saw the eclipse, but you're chasing the sun. It's the coldest rejection, the silent goodbye, leaving me hanging in a digital lie. I sent you my sorry, I sent you my pain, but you left me out standing alone in the rain. The scene at the bottom is a dagger of blue, a sign that you're there, but you're over me too. I see that you're posting, I see that you're there, in a world full of strangers who don't even care. You have time for the photos, the likes and the views, but you're suddenly busy with my kind of news. I'm tracing our history, scrolling back to the start, when your name on my screen was a jump in my heart. Now it's just a reminder of how far we fell, locked in a quiet, high-definition hell. One word would be mercy, even if it was gold, but you're keeping me frozen in the this route, you didn't just miss it. You chose to look past the person who promised to stay till the last. But you heard everyone. You saw the eclipse, but you're chasing the sun. It's the coldest rejection, the silent goodbye, leaving me hanging in a digital lie. I sent you my sorry, I sent you my pain, but you left me outstanding, alone in the rain. The scene at the bottom is a dagger of blue, a sign that you're there, that you're over me too. I'm turning the notifications to off. I'm tired of waiting for a phantom to cough. The screen is a mirror, the mirror is black. You ignored my messages and I'm not coming back. The sound of a phone being dropped into a drawer and the drawer sliding shut. The sky was a canvas of perfect pale blue, the kind of morning that belong to you. Not a cloud in the distance, no scent of the rain, just the coffee we shared and a lack of the pain. I thought we had made it, the winter was done. We were finally standing out here in the sun. Then you set down your cup and you looked at the door, like the peace we had found was a ceiling, not a floor. You didn't leave when the bills were all due, or when the world was a shadow and I was your glue. I stayed through the screaming, the dark and the cold, but you're walking away while the story is gold. It's easy to cling when the ship's going down, but you waited for shore just to leave me to drown. You saved all your strength for the fairest of weather, to cut every thread that was holding together. I prepared for the lightning, I braced for the gale. I never expected the sunlight to fail, but you're a ghost in the garden, a thief in the light, taking the happy and turning it white. You left on the good days, the ones we prayed for, when there wasn't a reason to fight anymore. You waited for healing just to say your goodbye, like you needed my smile to watch our love die. I could have forgiven a heart that was broken, but I can't forgive words that were perfectly spoken. You didn't want us when the us was okay. Was I just a crutch for your limping soul, something to use till you felt yourself whole? Now your lungs are full and your spirit is wide, and I'm just the baggage you're tossing aside. You didn't have the courage to leave in the dark, so you waited for morning to extinguish the spark. birds are still out, but I'm looking for cover. I'm looking for a cloud, because the good days are hollow. The good days are lies when they're just the backdrop for your last goodbyes. I'm the book on your nightstand with the spine never creased, the guest at your table who's the last to be reached. I've mastered the art of the it's okay smile while I'm walking the glass of your wait for a while. I dress up in colors I think you might crave, but I'm just a secret you're too tired to save. You call me when the world turns its back on your light, when your first choice is failing in the dead of the night. I'm the safety net hanging beneath your high wire, the spark that you use just to start someone's fire. I check my reflection and I don't see a face, just a placeholder, soul in a temporary space. I was building a temple, you were just renting a room. I was the garden, you were the frost on the bloom. And it's killing me slow how you pick and you choose which parts of my heart you are willing to lose. Oh, you made me feel optional, maybe at best a box that you checked when you failed all the rest. I wasn't your anthem, I was just background noise, a heart you could handle like one of your toys. While I was the ocean, you were just dipping a toe, making sure you had somewhere certain to go. God, it's a lonely kind of vertical fall to realize I'm your sometimes and nothing at all. Stop telling me soon, stop saying you're sweet, while you're looking past me for someone to meet. I'm not a backup, I'm not a plan B, I'm a wildfire screaming. Why can't you see? But you only see me when you're lonely and cold, like a thrift store sweater that's getting too old. Phone's on the floor, the typing just stopped. Another crumb of your mercy that you let be dropped. I'm closing the door on the if and the when. I'm not an option, I won't be again, but I'm still waiting for the pain. Looking at the timestamp on the message left unread, while I'm drowning in the things that you never quite said. You told me that your schedule was a storm you couldn't brave, but I saw you in the background phone of a photo someone saved. You were laughing in the corner with a glass held in your hand, while I was building castles in our private desert sand. I guess busy is a garden where the truth goes to die. A polite little coffin for a tired little lie, because nobody's too crowded for the things they truly want. And your absence is a phantom they started to haunt every maybe tomorrow, and every I'm swamped tonight was just you slowly dimming out my flickering light. You said you were busy, but you were just moving on. You were checking the exits before I knew you were gone. It wasn't the ticking of a clock on the wall, it was the sound of you choosing to not hear my call. I was a priority until I was a chore. And now I'm just a shadow standing outside your door. You weren't busy with work or the world or the rain. You were just busy forgetting my name. I sat by the window till the street lamps went gray, waiting for a hey. I finally finished my day, but your silence is a language that I've learned how to speak. It says you're not the anchor that I'm trying to seek. I made myself small to fit in the gaps of your time, treating your attention like a mountain I had to climb. But the view from the summit is lonely and cold when I'm the only one left with a hand I can't hold. If you had told me you were bleeding, I'd have stayed by your side. If you had told me you were scared, I'd have helped you to hide. But you gave me a calendar instead of a heart, and used being busy to tear us apart. It's the coward's goodbye, the slow motion ghost, the way that you hurt the one who loves you the most. Clock on the wall, it was the sound of you choosing to not hear my call. I was a priority until I was a chore, and now I'm just a shadow standing outside your door. You weren't busy with work or the world or the rain. You were just busy forgetting my name. I'm putting my phone in the drawer by the bed. I'm done with the stories you planted in my head. Go ahead, be busy, be free. I'll be busy forgetting you too, eventually. We're walking down the street where it began. Small talk and shadows, a meticulously crafted plan. The street lights flicker like a dying pulse. I'm searching for a feeling, but everything feels false. My fingers twitched, instinctively seeking yours. A habit built through years of quiet wars. But your palm was stiff, a wall I couldn't climb. The first real casualty of borrowed time. It wasn't a scream, it wasn't a fight. It was the way you let go in the middle of the night. The temperature dropped as you pulled away, and suddenly I had nothing left to say. You stopped holding my hand before you said goodbye, leaving me reaching for a starless sky. The 5-inch distance felt like 1,000 miles. Hide in the cracks behind your porcelain smiles. I felt the anchor slip, I felt the tether break. A slow motion crash, I couldn't help but make. The world kept moving, but I'm frozen in the land where you stopped. You just stopped holding my hand. I remember how you used to grip so tight, like I was the only thing keeping you upright. But now your arms are folded across your chest, a human fortress putting us to rest. We're still side by side, our shoulders almost touch, but I'm drowning in the absence of so little yet so much. The skin to skin was where the truth would reside. Now there's just a hollow space where we used to hide. The cruelest part isn't the walk away, it's the minute you decided you weren't gonna stay. While my fingers were warm and waiting for the fold, yours were already turning bitter and cold. You let go in spirit, you let go in the dark. Now I'm just a spark, looking for a spark. Stopped holding my hand. My hand is heavy now. It's a weight I have to carry. I'm still reaching, but you're already gone. Just a ghost of a grip, just a slip of